Hello friends, I'm the Holy Bleach, and today I'll be reading the first part of Is There Anything Left of Patton by Snow Dice. This part is called Something Left, and the summary is, Virgil has been living in Logan's house for 3 months, and they get along pretty good. Their abilities seem to balance each other out, making them a good team for the apocalyptic world outside their door. Then he finds the secret in Logan's basement. He almost wishes the secret were as simple as he first thought it was. AKA, the AU where Logan is crying probably like 85% of the time. Warnings for zombie apocalypse AU and past major character death? Question mark. It's a zombie apocalypse AU. It's complicated. 3 months. It had been what passed as a normal 3 months, a good 3 months even, especially compared to the 3 months before it, and even more than the 3 months before that. Don't even get him started on the 3 months before that. Those months had been the shittiest months. Those 3 months started out with him working at a coffee shop trying to pay rent while looking for a better job, and ended with him almost dying because he had to jump off a bridge into running water to save himself from a pack of zombies. These last 3 months had been good comparatively. This was mostly because he'd been living in Logan's house for almost the entire time. Logan's house had actually been his, as far as Virgil could tell, from before. That, or he'd bothered to lug cases of old college textbooks with his handwriting scribbled in the margins and boxes of photographs with him through the zombie apocalypse. It was a nice house even now that sat on the outskirts of what used to be a town. Virgil had no idea how he'd managed to hold down the fort during the outbreak, or how he'd managed to not get overrun after it. He imagined that the population of the dead in the vicinity of his house was a lot smaller now than it had been at the onset, but it was still sizable enough that Virgil had almost gotten eaten while scavenging in a neighboring house. That is how he met Logan. Virgil had been certain he'd been about to die since he'd barely been holding back teeth from chomping his face when a single bullet had gone through the zombie's head and embedded itself right to the left of Virgil's own skull. Even just the one gunshot, of course, alerted every mindless carnivore in the area of their location, so they'd scrambled into his house to wait it out. Virgil had just not left. He'd never really been invited, but he'd also never been asked to leave, so he just stayed. He contributed, of course. Virgil was pretty good in the little garden out back, while Logan seemed to have whatever the opposite of a green thumb was. He seemed to appreciate Virgil taking it over. Virgil was pretty sure the plants themselves cried in relief. Despite his lack of skill in the gardening department, Logan was pretty good at things like hunting. Managing to kill only the zombie and not also shoot Virgil had not been a lucky shot, and keeping the house structurally sound. They were both okay at scavenging, which was made much easier with the two of them, and they worked well together. Also, Logan was nice to talk to, especially since Virgil had been alone for a long time during the last year. He was a good guy, if a bit eccentric. He'd disappear for hours into the maze that was his house, and Virgil often found him reading in odd places, but he was chill and smart. Well, at least that's what Virgil had thought. God damn it. You're one of those people. Fuck, Virgil said. He said, standing in his secret fucking dead body prison basement. It isn't like that. You know, Logan, that's what they all say. He gestured at the thing in the cage. Even though he knew there was nothing going on in its head, Virgil still couldn't help but feel a bit of pity for it all trussed up like that in the corner, squirming and making horrible sounds behind a gag. So, what? Huh? Is it someone you think you care about too much to put it out of its misery even though it might kill anything it comes into contact with? Are you keeping it for some sort of last-minute defense for your house? Do you do science experiments on it out of some perverted need to know more about them? Tell me, because I've honestly run the gambit of crazy assholes in the last year. No, Logan said. You don't understand. Oh, I don't understand? Why don't you explain it to me? Why do you have a zombie in the basement of your house? The house I lived in for the past 3 months without you thinking to tell me about this. Logan looked at him for a moment. Very well. He grabbed a set of keys on the wall and moved over to the enclosure. Virgil lunged forward to grab his arm when he moved with the key in the lock. Don't you fucking dare! Logan didn't try to pull away from his hold. He just spoke calmly, face neutral. He is restrained well on the other side of this cell. I will lock the door behind me. You won't be in any danger. You're fucking nuts. What am I supposed to do? Just stand on the other side of the bars and watch you get ripped to shreds by that thing? I will not get ripped to shreds. I have been in that cell many times. I know how to deal with him. Please let me explain myself. Virgil cursed, but released him. He took a few long steps back while Logan unlocked the cage. His wary eyes went to the creature who was stirring at the noise, but did seem well restrained. As he had promised, Logan locked the door behind himself. The thing grew more agitated as Logan approached, straining against its bonds and making sickening noises behind the gag. Logan went to his knees in front of it, a sad smile on his face. Hello, Patton. He reached for the handcuff locks. You are so fucking nuts, Virgil said, but it did not deter the other man, and it wasn't like Virgil could stop him from the other side of the bars. He didn't even have the keys if he wanted to enter the cage. When Logan released the thing's arms, it reached forward, its fingers grazing Logan's cheeks in a move Virgil recognized. He'd seen people get pulled in with motions like that. Mindless, dead fingers grabbed and grabbed, pulling you toward deadly teeth so they could tear you apart. The only thing keeping Logan from being a snack was the gag in the thing's mouth, but as Virgil watched, he reached up a hand to take that out. From experience, Virgil expected it to lunge directly toward Logan's neck, but it didn't. It continued to reach for him, and the raspy moans got even more haunting without the gag smothering them, but it did not attack. Despite all rational thought, Virgil felt himself draw closer to the bars of the cell to watch. Logan calmly set the gag to the side as though he were not being clawed at by a mindless dead thing, and then he reached up to press the inside of his wrist to the creature's mouth. I don't know why, Logan said, very much not being bitten. The creature seemed discontented with this new thing covering its mouth, and tilted its face to get away. Perhaps it is a different strain of the virus, or something went wrong with the turning. Maybe it's just him. He was a good man in his life. He wouldn't even let me kill bugs he found in the house. Perhaps there is an echo of that left over that keeps him from hurting people. Or maybe it's me. I wouldn't risk anyone else to test out if he'd hurt another. That's why I keep him restrained here. Fuck. Logan looked up, and Virgil was shocked to see that despite the level tone he'd been using the whole time, there were tears leaking from his eyes. You can see why I can't just finish him off, though. Even if perhaps I should. And his voice finally wavered, and he gave an aborted sob. The creature reached and reached mindlessly for him, brushing his face again and again with its fingertips. Logan grabbed its hands and held them between his own. I don't know what you want, dear. The creature wiggled and pulled against the grip. Logan cleared his throat. Virgil, would you perhaps mind sliding me the first aid kit on the table over there? Virgil obeyed, grabbing it and sliding it through the bars to him. He took it and opened it with practiced ease. You've hurt yourself again, Logan said at a volume that made Virgil sure it was not meant for him. Here, I'll fix you right up. It's okay. There was a minute pause in the sounds it made. A reaction to the words, to the tone of them, or did it finally just need to breathe? Virgil could not be sure. It did not pause in the reaching, and the moaning started full force again right after. Logan rubbed some sort of cream onto the mark near the creature's elbow. Does that work? Virgil asked. Most zombies he'd seen didn't appear like they'd ever healed. They were often rotted and limping. He's still living in some sense of the word. He heals if wounds are properly treated and he has enough nutrition. In fact, he seems to heal faster than before. Nutrition? And, what do you feed him? Meat. He doesn't seem to have a preference for cooked or raw, and he won't eat anything else. Well, except for baked potatoes for some reason. Baked potatoes. He won't eat mashed or fried. The creature stopped reaching for Logan in favor of attempting to get at the cream on its skin with its mouth. No, Logan scolded. It did not respond. He pushed its head back and picked up the bandages to start wrapping the area. You know this is crazy, right? I do. But what do you expect me to do when there's something left of him? Fuck, was Virgil's response. Fuck. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Snowdice for allowing me to read this fic. If you like their writing and would like to read more, I have a link to their master post in the description, and if you like my voice, there are more videos like this on my channel. This fic has 13 parts, or 16 if you include the bonus content, and that is all already recorded, so you won't have to worry about wait time, and it will be uploaded on Saturday. I think that's all I needed to say, so I hope you have a wonderful day, and stay safe out there, guys.